oblivion.
What do you mean by title? I mean what I mean with the title. She's just the new Herta, bro. The sub DPS is better as a main DPS. Do you think Hyacinth has a chance to rerun in 4.5 because of Robin SP? Uh, I'd place my bets on like 4.6 or 4.7, not gonna lie. I don't think they'd do 4.5. They could, but it goes either way. But I feel like as of late, they've kind of had this pattern where, at least when it comes to the Rem characters, they like to separate their reruns by patch, like each one. So if they do the same thing for Robin again, I think they might just put Hyacinth in like the patch after instead of the patch that they drop. I mean, it's kind of obvious what I mean. Doesn't Robin SP lower Cyrene value even more? No. Because Everknight's best in slot team would just be Everknight, Robin, SP, Cyrene, and then Hyacinth. It lowers Cassie's value that Everknight might get a new support and she might not need RMC anymore. Meaning she's a main DPS. Her main DPS is already better than Cassie, but now you're making a limited unit, probably has good verticals as well, which is really good, and they go into an Everknight team. Like, it just lowers Cassie's value. Because the only cope Cassie mains had, despite Everknight main DPS beating her in nearly everything, is one, APOC, because the breath plus bounce damage is incredibly good for toughness damage, and two, when you get this team to like 12 cost, Cassie is better, right? Like, Cassie becomes an optimal investment. Those have been like the two things that castorice lovers have like hung on to versus Everknight main DPS. If Everknight gets a new limited unit on her team and you can kick out RMC, the entire discussion is just over. She's basically a Herta. It's the same as Herta. Herta was better than Anoxa in Pure Fiction, but people eventually came to the realization that Pure Fiction is, not the most difficult endgame, so you'd rather just run an Anoxa main DPS. The same thing is probably going to happen to Cassie now. Cassie's better in APOC, but like an Everknight main DPS would probably be better in every other endgame. Is full mono rem team a fraud? I mean, no, technically Everknight's team is full mono rem. It's just Cassie, which I've been saying for quite a while now, that Cassie is the weak link in the mono rem team. And people, I brought this up during like my Firefly Dahlia discussions months ago, and people were like, "Nah, you're coping, bro. You're coping. Cassie isn't the weakling. She's so strong." It's not about being weak or strong, right? Like, your team can still be strong as shit, okay? But objectively, there is one character who is always going to give the least value on a team. And in this case, that is Cassie, unfortunately. And I don't even think that Hoyo did it on purpose. I think Hoyo accidentally made Evernight much stronger than they meant to, similar to Inoxa. So that now they're pivoting to the Inoxa route, right? They initially tried to sell Inoxa as a sub DPS, but when they came to the realization that Inoxa is better as a main DPS, they pivoted to like giving Cyrene a hyper carry buff for Inoxa, right? And like Ceredra and stuff. Like he ended up getting buffed. I feel like Evernight is the same situation now. They sold Evernight as a sub DPS, realized they made her way too strong as a main DPS, so now they're selling a teammate for Evernight main DPS. Which is, I mean, it's just the same as Inoxa. Comparing Cassie to Phanon makes no sense. Because Phanon has one, mostly dogshit dedicated teammates unlike Monorem, and two, he's the one who fully carries the team's damage, unlike Monorem where the damage is highly shared. Like they're complete opposites. That's not even a great comparison. Like it's impossible for someone on Phanon's team to be the so-called weak link because none of them do damage except him. Like he fully carries that team. Unlike Cassie, where the sub DPS outperforms her consistently as a main DPS at most investments that are relatable to people. Yeah, Blade is equal to Cyrene, or very close to equal to Cyrene in Monorem Cassie teams as well. But once again, like this is mainly about the Robin thing. Like if Robin is going to be in every single Evernight team, that's probably an RMC replacement. I doubt they'd make Robin weaker than RMC. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I was talking about I was talking to my chat about this legit a couple weeks ago on stream that I highly doubted they'd ever make like this Rem character. Like for those who don't know, it was leaked like a month ago that this Rem character is like abundant space, right? Which implies they're probably a healer. They have like HP damage, kind of similar to a Hyacine situation. I was like, I don't think this is real. Because if you make another new limited Rem HP scaling character who like is a Memo Sprite damage dealer or buffs Memo Sprite damage, the one who benefits is Evernight. Like Evernight main DPS skyrockets in value. Because now she's no longer reliant on RMC. And then Cassie's value goes down. But that doesn't make sense because Cassie's the Annie character. So why would they do that? But now you have fucking like Anon saying this shit. So it's like, it's so likely, and I don't know why. I don't know why. It's a case of good characters falling off to better characters, Reaper. I've talked about this before, but I genuinely believe that like Herta's kit is one of the greatest, and like it's like very very clean kit among like the entire Amphorius lineup. The only problem is like her dedicated teammates aren't Cassie dedicated teammates. You know what I'm saying? Like if you gave Herta in Evernight a Cyrene and a Hyacine to Amper, she would probably be stronger than Cassie at like so many investment levels. Herta herself isn't the problem. It's just that her teammates aren't that big of a jump like Cassie's are. Robin isn't an Ampho character. How is she going to work with Cyrene? Cyrene doesn't require you to be an Ampho character. She just requires you to be a Remembrance or Ampho character. And either of the two ends up working towards her stacks. The only aspect in which this would even matter is, I guess, E2 Cyrene. Because E2 Cyrene, because you wouldn't get probably an automatic buff put on Robin like some of the sustains, you'd have to actually. Wait, no. No, 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 no. It'd be fine. Because Everknight's buff is permanent and Hyocine's buff is permanent. And you just keep buffing Robin with Cyrene. Yeah. Never mind. It works completely fine. I forgot the mono rem characters have a permanent buff. It would work completely fine. Yeah. Like, you can see when Herta is actually able to shine against her best endgame, like Pure Fiction, like, she still holds up to some of the Ampho goats when it comes to clearing in Pure Fiction, which is really impressive. Obviously, that's her best mode, but you can see the potential there, right? Like, if she had any type of bounce damage, if she had better teammate chilling like Cassie did, it would just be so much better for her. I mean, pre Cyrene, high investment Thirda was better than high investment Anoxa as well. Like, Anoxa had to get Cyrene before he actually started being Thirda at high investments. Which, once again, is why I have my title the way it is. Castorice feels exactly like the Herta situation. Herta came out, everybody thought, oh, Anoxa might be decent as a main DPS, but Anoxa's best team is always going to be with Thirda. At high investment, he's always going to be in a Thirda team. But people forget 99% of this player base is not running 12 cost teams, right? And at the end of the day, when people realized Thirda was only better in one endgame mode compared to Anoxa, they just switched to Anoxa main DPS. And I feel like the current conversation I'm getting from Cassie mains is legit just a mirror of what Thirda mains were saying to Cope back then. They're trying to say, oh, Everknight's team, her best team, is always going to be paired with Cassie. Her main DPS isn't better. Just ignore the fact that Everknight consistently beats Cassie at every endgame mode other than Pure Fiction. You know? Or sorry, APOC. She does beat her in Pure Fiction. Like, ignore that. At 12 cost plus, Cassie plus Everknight is best in the slot. Okay. But if Everknight now gets a new limited support on her team, that just goes out the window. You know? Like, literally, it just disappears if she gets a new Remembrance support. Because now she isn't relying on RMC. She has more vertical investment options for her main DPS. And I don't know how many of you guys know this, but duo DPS Cyrene and Everknight has already been, like, so fucking overpowered. Like, it is disgustingly overpowered when you build a duo DPS Cyrene and Everknight. What if they are both E0 as 0? Who? In either scenario, Anoxa and Everknight win. Which, once again, this isn't me saying that Herta... Well, Herta could use a buff, but I don't think she's, like, literally a brick. And this isn't me saying that Cassie is weak. It's just like, bro... Like, Everknight main DPS is already consistently beating, more often than not, Cassie teams at clearing every endgame mode, and now she might get an upgrade. Like, it's just an observation, you know? Like, what else am I supposed to think? Oh, Everknight isn't going to get any stronger with the addition of a new best-in-slot teammate? You know what I'm saying? Like, how is that even possible? There's no way that's possible. And also, like, I have an E2S1 Cassie. I built my entire main account, the one with, like, Cassie and my Silverwolf and stuff. I originally built that account solely so that I could give Cassie the strongest team possible. Like, I like Cassie. I'm a bit of a Cassie shill. But I'm not like so emotionally attached to these characters that I'm gonna lie to myself about the meta value. You know? And here's the thing, Cassie could get a Nova, right? Cassie's incredibly popular. I wouldn't be surprised if she got a Nova like midway through 5.x or something, you know? Like, she could get buffed. She'll spend half a year with Evernight main DPS being better, and then she'll get a Nova. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Everknight's E0 as 0 damage is sus in single targets. I don't know about that. And you think Cassie's damage isn't sus either? Like, they both fall off dramatically without their light cones, which is why it doesn't matter. Why would you pull for an E9 support when they already have a well-invested team? Both E9 and Cassie teams are still T0. Because, once again, bro, Evernight main DPS at most investments currently, without even including a new limited support upgrade for Evernight in Robin SP, is beating Cassie. Evernight's E2 jump is astronomically higher than Cassie's as well. Evernight is significantly more synergistic with Cyrene than Cassie is with Cyrene. Evernight is a Memo Sprite buffer, meaning she can go in future Remembrance teams, which is exactly what's happening now. So, Evernight is already beating Cassie. You add Robin SP plus her vertical investment options with an Evernight, and Evernight is likely one of, if not the strongest DPS in the entirety of the game. Once again, it's no difference between Anoxa and Herta. The reason Evernight beats castorice is only because she can be played sustainless. Evernight still beats her even outside of sustainless. Like, what is even the point of bringing this up? Yes, she can run sustainless unlike Cassie. She still beats Cassie in sustain versus sustain, despite it benefiting Cassie significantly more a lot and a majority of the time. All better cost clears with E9 are done sustainless. They just aren't, bro. They just aren't. I'm sorry. They just aren't.
Our story is far from over.
If I go to AA King, Cassie's best clear is 10 cost with Battle Pass Lycones. And without Battle Pass Lycones, it's 11. Evernight also has a 10 cost clear, but without the need for Battle Pass Lycones against AA King with sustain. So in this case, Evernight beats her because there's no reliance on that. Let me check Pure Fiction, I guess.
This story deserves a perfect ending. Don't you think?
In Pure Fiction, Evernight, 5 cost clear. What's Cassie's? 9 with Battle Pass Lycones. If I go to MOC against, I guess, Nikador, the first thing that shows up, Evernight's best clear is 2 cost, and with Hyacine is 3. If I go to castorice, where is she? She is at 4. So, like, you see my point, man? Like, no, Lycones do count as a cost in this game. Limited Lycones, limited Eidolons, and limited character count as costs. But some people try to cheat costs with Battle Pass Lycones sometimes. Like, once again, this doesn't mean that Cassie is bad. But when you look at it objectively, Evernight main DPS already consistently beats Cassie majority of the time across most of the endgame modes. And then she's now getting an upgrade. Like, what am I supposed to think or say? You know? Like, I was already on edge in terms of recommending people Cassie for Mono Rem. Because it's like, you can get Mono Rem, but just without Cassie, get E2 Evernight. And it's like significantly better investment at that cost level. But now, like, what does someone even say to try and sell Cassie? Outside of, I like Cassie more. Which is my point. It doesn't mean that Cassie's bricked or anything. People always act like this whenever I have these discussions. It just means she isn't important. No offense. Like, Cyrene's more important. Robin is more important. Hyacine is more important. Evernight is very important. But Cassie is the most selfish character on that team. So she provides the least for the team. Why would anyone decide to pull for a year-old character? Who? Cyrene is important. I thought she's a scam. Brother, you guys never understand nuance. And it's just absolutely embarrassing. I already went through this with my chat so many times on stream. There are certain Chrysos Air DPSs where she gives a lot of value. But generally, she has bad value. That is how this thing works. Okay, generally, across multiple different teams outside of her niche, she is pretty ass. Okay? But Anoxa, for example, incredibly good. Evernight, for example, where they can literally run duo DPS and Evernight buffs them as well, really good. Some of the Chrysos Air DPS is pretty bad. Like Heisland's teams. These days, you can just run triple dot. Some of the other air teams, Phanon can go without Cyrene pretty easily as well. Doesn't dot work well with her? Triple dot is better than with Cyrene. So, basically the only option you're left with, or a majority of the time, is better than Cyrene. You need to run dot sustainless, and dot sustainless is like the most giga of copes that exist in this game. Like, that's one of the hardest teams to run sustainless. You need to kill so fast before your team actually dies. So that's why I don't take it that seriously. But yes, in a sustainless dot team, Cyrene goes in there. Because that's just the next best option. I mean, it's not even rage bait, though. People only consider my opinions rage bait when it goes against what they believe. Like, I hate the term rage bait these days. Like, I'm being dead serious. Like, I genuinely think Cassie is the weakest link in the Mono Rem team currently. And Evernight main DPS is just better. And more future-proof, too. because at least Evernight is like Evernight can buff Memo Sprite buffing, and her E1 is like one of the strongest E1s in the entire game for buffing a specific type of damage. Yeah, Blade is equal to Cyrene in Cassie Mono Rem teams. I mean, I'm just referencing how castorice and herta are like similar situations, and the way their mains are reacting is similar. Because I remember I was there during the Anoxa Thirda discussions, and the general consensus went from at the beginning, oh, Anoxa's best team is always going to be with Thirda. At higher investments, Thirda plus Anoxa is better than Anoxa main DPS. And oh, Thirda's always going to be better, right? Like they're always going to be in a team together. To probably about 2 patches later, people finally come to the realization of like Anoxa main DPS is better in almost every endgame mode except pure fiction, right? And then it's the same thing with Cassie right now and Cassie mains. Oh, Everknight's best team is always going to be with Cassie. At higher investments, Cassie and Everknight is like the best in slot team instead of separate, right? And oh, Cassie has better clears in APOC sometimes because Cassie just, her dragon is incredibly good for toughness damage. It's legit. I'm getting deja vu. It's just straight up deja vu from the herta with the way people talk about Cassie value. And now, similar to Anoxa getting a buff from Cyrene, Everknight is probably going to get a buff from Robin SP. Does anyone use their E0 Cassie with E2 Everknight? I doubt it. Because in case scenarios like that, the E2 Everknight is just better to run as hyper carry. It seems Robin may be the DPS. I mean, either way, that doesn't change anything. Like, that would still be Everknight's new best team, and it would probably be stronger than Mono Rem. Which is my point. It just doesn't change much. If you make Robin the main DPS, Everknight still has her broken-ass buffing. She still has her broken E1, and then she still has her broken-ass sub-DPS capabilities. Then you have Hyacine in your sustain slot, and then you can just use Cyrene to constantly buff Robin for the damage bonus, or you could go the route of just letting Cyrene constantly spam basic attack depending on your investment on her. Like, nothing changes. That's still the new Everknight best team, and it doesn't include Cassie, is a thing, if you make Robin the DPS. Which is why it's, like, kind of funny. You could make her a DPS, you could make her a support, you could make her a sub-DPS. Like, you could make her damn near every role, and it still fit more on an Everknight team. You can make castorice a sustain. Oh, holy brick. The only thing I don't understand is why you push that brain dead agenda of Blade equals Cyrene and Mono Rem. You see, the only reason you think this take is brain dead is because you haven't gone out of your way in the slightest to actually look at any gameplays, right? Because you think I get my opinions from just lying? No, I get my opinions from calcs and as well as gameplay videos. Yesterday, I watched a gameplay video of E0S1 Cyrene versus M Blade in a Cassie Evernight Hyoscene team, and they cleared at the same AV. The exact same. They both consumed 130 AV to clear. The exact same AV. So, when these two are literally tying at equal investment on Cassie's Mono Rem team, why am I going to lie and say that Blade is so much worse than Cyrene and he isn't comparable when clearly he is? Exactly. Even if Cyrene was 5-10% better, Blade's value is so astronomically higher because of him being able to be used in literally any team in the game. With 50% vulnerability, 30% defense reduction, damage bonus, and as well as being a nihility, allowing him to run light cones that put like defense reduction and stuff. One clear doesn't prove anything, especially when you talk about Cyrene. Brother, like, HOS said it. Gameplays are showing it. Calcs are showing it. Like, what do you want? Do you want a content creator to go out of their way to feed you a silver platter of tests across every endgame mode the last 5 patches? It would just end up differing depending on which one is getting more shield. And that's it. Also, Cyrene is the one who has an advantage in an E0 S1 comparison. Blade's S1 is mid. Like, that shit is genuinely mid. Cyrene's S1 at least gives like 16% vulnerability plus something else. What are you going to do? Get E1 Cyrene instead of M Blade? E1 Cyrene is decently underwhelming. It's mainly her E2 that a lot of people want to go for. Vertical Cyrene is better at E2 plus, yeah. At E2 plus, Cyrene is like probably definitively better than Blade. Not by like some large ass margin, but like, yeah, she's best in slot. And then Blade is probably like, I don't know, 10-15% worse or something. HOS said only if you want to free Cyrene for the other team. HOS said also that they're comparable, and also Blade got more changes down the line that buffed him a little more. And also, HOS isn't the only content creator who exists. Do you download your opinions from one single content creator and then ignore all the proof everywhere else because it doesn't fit your agenda? And it doesn't give you confirmation bias. Because all you're doing is repeating HOS's one comment over and over and over and over again. And then even then, you're ignoring a pretty important part of his comment, in which he says that they are comparable. Like, the lengths you have to go to even cope about Cyrene is... I have E2 Cyrene, okay? Look, I have her. I have the E2. She's fucking amazing at E2. Can we stop lying about character value at E0? Like, what is this cope that so many people use lately of like, if you get this character E2 plus, they are actually best in slot on this team? Why would I be getting Cyrene E2 in the big 26? No offense, unless you're a Phanon main. Phanon is like the only one where I'd say like E2 Cyrene is still worth it. Other showcases you posted had relics when. Oh my god, brother. Oh, just believe what you want to believe. Just believe what you want to believe. I'm not gonna sit here trying to tell you how it is for 2 hours straight. Just believe that Cyrene is better than M-Blade and skip M-Blade. Oh yeah, Verly. Like these leakers and some of these creators, like I talked about this before. Some of these zero cyclers, and especially the people who do leaks, do not fully understand the potential of characters and like how strong they are. Like one of the best examples of this was Sparksy, but another example was Yao Guang. Pre Silverwolf and pre Evanesia, I saw a lot of creators saying that although Yao Guang seems really good for Sparksy, they couldn't understand or foresee how she could be good in like a mono elation team with like a future elation DPS and when Sparksy goes into a sub DPS role. And they were like so lost. But now it's like incredibly clear that Yao Guang is just very important for both and stuff like that. So it's like people cannot be fully correct a lot of the time. And especially these leakers, yeah. Anon took a while on sub DPS Sparksy. I like it's literally just Sparksy all over again. Where when Sparksy first came out, when I was making my Sparksy as a sub DPS videos, a majority of the comments refuting me were just people bringing up Anon, and Anon saying that her main role was a main DPS. And I was like, I understand that. I know he's incredibly reliable, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, given what's official currently. She just seems so much more like an Evernight. And then he just changed it to sub DPS in like V3 or something. Yeah, you also had a Noxa. I don't get the zero cycle brain rot. In this game, because meta is so much of a popular topic, people kind of get their self accomplishment through meta, and it's like, oh, 5 cycles is pretty easy. So if I get a zero cycle, I'll feel, superior. Self accomplishment. That's like the zero cycle brain rot in HSR. It's why I always say, because of meta being the main thing about HSR these days and the main topic of discussion, it's been bad for the community's health. And it leads into a lot of disingenuous comparisons where people will compare HSR zero cycles to like Genshin Wuwa clears that literally have a few seconds left and then say that if a character in HSR doesn't zero cycle, they're washed. They're power crept. It's over for them. But if a character who's 1 or 2 years old clears with a few seconds left on, let's say, like Stygian Abyss or like Double Pawns Matrix TOA, people over there will be like, wow, this game is so friendly, man. How does my character from 1 or 2 years ago still clear? Like, it's only because HSR community is like so meta based that they value a lot of things off of zero cycles. Yeah, Sparksy works good as main DPS. Yeah, like I was literally scrolling through Twitter yesterday and I saw a discussion of like HSR players who are good at the game and like some WUA players because the WUA players were trying to talk about like, oh, your power creep is so bad. And then an HSR player posted Seal 1 cause 0 cycle against endgame with 1.x supports and like MC, free MC, like Welt and stuff. Like Seal got a 1 cycle against Nikador, and then they were like, oh, but you need Nova Flares for that though. Like, what do you want people to do to not use the buffs on older characters? Like, it gets serious, man. And keep in mind, it was a 1 cycle. Like, a 1 cycle. With Seal and 1.x supports. And a bunch of free characters. And they're like, eh, this doesn't look like a clean clear to me. Could have been a 0 cycle. Are there leaks about 4.3 reruns? Yeah. If I remember correctly, first half is M-Blade plus... Oh, shit, I don't remember. It was leaked, though. I think I might have put it on my thing. Let's see. Oh, yeah, M-Blade plus Yao Guang, and then the second half is Cyrene plus Phanon.
Story deserves a perfect ending.
Phanon plus Cyrene is like the ultimate E2 bait I've ever seen on banners. Like for both. That is the greatest E2 bait of all time, in my opinion. Kudos to HSR on that one. Robin doesn't need to be an Amphorius character, guys. I feel like a lot of you are forgetting that Cyrene's trace, the way it works, is you either need to be a Amphorius Chrysos heir, or you need to be a Remembrance character. So if you have a full Rem team, Cyrene works completely fine. The problem arises when you're using Cyrene in a non-Chrysos heir and maybe using her buff on a non-Remembrance character. Or like, you're not doing a mono-rem team. That's when the problems with Cyrene arises. She does work, but if Robin, then her buff is buns. I mean, it depends. I feel like something a lot of people are kind of downplaying here is depending on how much Robin's Memo Sprite moves, she could be a very fast generator for Cyrene's thing. Meaning Cyrene could get in her own lick of damage while also having buff uptime on Robin. Like, yeah, I agree it isn't the best, but then you also need to keep in mind Cyrene's buff to Evernight increases Evernight's buff towards Memo Sprite damage as well. Which is, you know, and then the synergy between Cyrene and Evernight it's just so high. Like, I don't know. Cyrene Evernight synergy is just so high. I don't really see Cyrene getting kicked out there. I could be wrong though. Robin a better RMC? That's my first guess. Like, if there is any, in my opinion, if there's any new Remembrance character you're making, and you are targeting them for the HP teams, I really feel like making an RMC upgrade would help the most. But the problem is, a technical RMC upgrade would just kind of be old Robin reheated. Because Everknight's main DPS team highly benefits from action advance. If you're making a better version of RMC, they probably have team-wide action advance. Which once again, like, that's just old Robin, you know? So, the thing with HSR is they usually like changing a character's gameplay quite a bit. And, like, the things that they do versus, like, their older version. So, I don't know if they do that. Like, action advance is very important for Evernight. Highly, highly important. I remember I was watching like a Waveman stream like a month ago that made me come to the realization of this, where he replaced a Tribby with E1 Robin, and Robin performed better solely because of the action advance and Evernight being able to get that many more turns and attacks off. Like, that's why RMC is her best in slot. RMC being able to give consistent action advance is just so good, especially with E2 Evernight. They could screw this up and Robin Mog Cyrene. Um, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, you're actually right, yeah. An RMC upgrade with team-wide action advance would probably kick out Cyrene. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. Cyrene is like such a she's such a questionable character to me. I don't know. I I I never liked her design to begin with. This is the problem, bro. Like, in okay, if this game was Woowa, you could get away with a Cyrene. Like, here's the thing. I don't own it's not like I have this opinion across every game. If you have Woowa level of power creep, which means a lot slower than HSR, you can definitely get away with a Cyrene. The problem is this game is HSR, you know? Like, those generalists in a new version, they slap. The power creep slaps, you know? And it just makes niche characters in this game so questionable. I don't know. Like, this is why I glaze Blade so highly. Like, look at Blade. The amount he buffs Acheron is astronomical. His placement in a follow-up team is so important. But he's still such a good generalist that his value is so high in other teams. Like, that's such a good kit to me. You know, I feel like that's the philosophy that HSR should be going for on their supports. They should be generalist, have generalist capabilities, but also have this one side niche. It's similar to Ruan Mei, right? In all honesty, Ruan Mei is the one who like started this type of buffing where they're like mainly generalist, but then they also have other buffs towards the team they're supposed to be best in slot for. That's just the best way to do it. Niche supports in HSR are just so questionable when the jump just isn't high enough. The jump needs to be so high to guarantee your place on a team for a good amount of time. Cyrene can get buffed. Yeah, but that's the problem. The thing with the buff argument is like, yeah, Cyrene might get buffed at some point, and then a little bit later, the character who originally power crept her is now buffed as well. So then you just end up in the same situation again. How do you even buff her? I mean, I assume that you probably just increase the value of the early Eidolons like they like to do with some Nova Flares. And they just changed the Chrysos Air buffs and the non-Chrysos Air buff, I guess. Like, the non-Chrysos Air buff on Cyrene is dog shit. Like, surely they can at least buff that. But then, like, things like Cassie's buff would probably get increased. Everknight's buff might get better. Like, just buffs across the board for all the Chrysos Airs, I guess. I mean, the Cyrene situation is kind of funny. And I've always said this. One of the pros for, like, Cyrene mains who really like her, duo DPS with Everknight and main DPS Cyrene is so strong for a support. Like, I'm not exaggerating. The Cyrene Everknight combo at, like, higher vertical investments is probably the most disgusting team in the entirety of the game. I think they have the highest single target damage ceiling at, like, even 12 cost or even higher. Like, Cyrene does a monstrous amount of damage. So for those who really love Cyrene and they go in for the verticals and they get, like, her best team, Cyrene is just irreplaceable on an Everknight team, in my opinion, because she's that good. That's why calling Cyrene a support is always, like, a little funny to me, because I always just remember the duo DPS Everknight team. And it's like, holy, that's a support. We're reaching buff slash debuff saturation soon. Oh, 100%. The second I saw Blade's 50% vulnerability and 30% defense reduction, and things like E4 Welt and Nova Sparkle, yeah, for sure. It's understandable, Sodic. It's not like Blade is a must pull either. He's probably the most highly valuable support in the game currently, but he's not like a must. In my opinion, like, I've talked about this before. How valuable characters are is entirely dependent on, like, the state of one's account, and then also, like, what you just want, right? Because at the end of the day, people should just be pulling whatever makes them the happiest instead of going for what's most meta. Because if you're going for what's most meta, but you're getting characters that you don't really give a shit about, then I don't know. Like, I just wouldn't really recommend that, you know? That's why, like, even this entire, like, Cyrene thing, or, like, Cassie getting kicked out of an Everknight team to now there's, like, a new top mono rem team. Like, none of this fucking matters if you just like Cassie. Because one, Cassie is already incredibly strong, and normal mono rem is already incredibly strong. But two, like, if you just like Cassie, just keep using Cassie. Like, who cares? You know, it's the same as, like, a third main. A lot of Thirda mains are probably aware that an Oxa main DPS is way better, but they just keep using an Oxa on a Thirda team because they like Thirda more. Thoughts on the paid Nova for Akra? I don't know. I already said it in my recent video that I just don't know. It just depends on how you attain it. That would be me even if I even had an Oxa. Yeah, exactly. Like for example, on my main monorem account, I have E2 Evernight. You know? Like I could definitely pick up Robin off of what we're getting in the current leaks and then buff my Evernight significantly more than with Cassie. But I'm not pulling Robin, dude. Like I'm just gonna keep using monorem with Cassie on my main account anyways. Because I just don't care. I like Cassie. And also, I need to invest more into my Elation team too. Oh yeah, like revisionism around characters is so like hilarious to me. Like for example, I was like reading a comment yesterday where someone said I knew Robin was like bait and overrated since her release and I'm finally justified. And I just sat there for like a good 10 seconds like what do you mean Robin was overrated and bait? Like for those who were there, the entirety of 2.x, every single character's best clear was just with Robin. It didn't matter if the team didn't even like necessarily want her buffs. They just had the best clear because of Robin's action advance. I was just sitting there just stunned. Stun locked. Like how do you even have this take? And then the same thing also goes for some DPSs, obviously, like the Herta. The Herta was getting glazed by so many of the Zero Cyclers as like, oh my god, this character is so broken. Why did nobody complain about her? Why did nobody say she should get nerfed? She's so strong, so universal. Like, this character is absolutely amazing. Like, Thirda Glaze was crazy when she initially released. These days, people will tell you that Thirda is fucking washed, mid, could use a like in my opinion once again I don't even think Thirda needs a kit buff. I just think she needs more dedicated teammates. Like give her Cassie level dedicated teammates and she's incredibly strong. The problem is she just didn't get that, unfortunately. Go for E2 Phanon or a new team. uh what investment does your Phanon team have, my friend? Him, his Lycone, and Ceridra. Hmm. It's worth it, especially if you like Phanon. But I think investing in a new team at this point might seem more worth in the long run, is all. But an E2 Phanon would definitely still last the entirety of this version with a Saridra. The thing is, like, even these incompleted 4.x teams that we have currently are, like, all really strong. So, I just imagine the power would only go higher. Investing in a new team would be more expensive. No, I agree. But the reason I asked him that is because depending on how much investment you have on an older team, yes, you can make that argument. But if your investment, in my opinion, isn't steep enough, then it's still better to go for a new team. Like, for example, if he said he had E1 Saridra, Cyrene, and E0 S1 Phanon, I would have said, yeah, go for E2. But when it's just Saridra, no Cyrene, and an E0 S1 Fae, you can probably go 2 or 3 cost into like M Blade plus Ashvale, and it would be competitive with like E2 Phanon clears, you know? And that's them missing their main DPS, which is why I kind of said what I said. And these Elation teams are also missing a piece as well. But once again, like depending on how much you like Phanon, if you really like him, you want to make him playable for a lot longer, I'd get the E2, even if he technically isn't the best investment possible for you. Because Phanon is just cool like that, and at the end of the day, you have more fun. I mean, 135 people watching me is normal. Especially when I put on a title like this, people usually click on it. Yeah, because like it really would have been better to invest into Phaedon probably on his last rerun for a Z2. Back then, I probably would have said yeah. But 4.3 when we're like midway through version 4 is it's just so much different, man. New version, new power creep, new meta. A lot changes. Oh yeah, E1 Tribby's pretty goated. Tribby is best in slot at least until follow up gets their main DPS as well, right? With like M Blade and Ashvale. I always believed in Tribby, man. Just got E1 Teeb. Nice. Oh yeah, E1 Tribby, with the way the gimmick works, is much stronger on AoE characters. Mainly for like pure fiction usually. Because when you have perma 5 targets, you technically do like if I remember correctly, it's like 120% more true damage, or like around 100 something percent true damage towards the highest HP mob on field. So you just do so much more damage to the fat boss. Doesn't E1 Tribby lose value now that Blade is coming out? I mean, no, because Tribby is currently best in slot with Blade. When they get like their main DPS, maybe, but for now, like Tribby still has good value because she's just so good for Asheville plus Blade right now. But yes, like if you're starting from nothing and your thing is like, should I get Blade or should I get Tribby as a generalist? Like Blade would obviously be better. Tribby needs her E1 to compete in generalist buffing against Blade. But then Tribby takes the cake a little bit because of the gimmick behind her E1. Yeah, that's true. They're also normalizing 3-team endgame now, like in the Star Wars modes. So having more generalist supports is always nice. Like you have Blade on one team, you have Tribby on the other one, and then you have like one niche team that you actually have fully built. How good is E4 Welton generalist buffing? Uh, I think slightly better than E0 Blade, if I remember correctly. Slightly better. Standard E4 better than a premium character? Yeah. That's why I said what I said about Blade not getting nerfed. Because it just didn't make sense. Like, you have an E4 standard character who's better at buffing. And then you have things like Nova Sparkle, who are just monsters. It didn't really make sense to nerf his debuffs. Alright, chat. I'm going to end the stream here. My throat is already dying somehow. Don't know how, but it is. Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night.